Hail, hail, good evening, folks, and welcome along to the Monday night show. This is Endless Celts Podcast, the unofficial podcast, of course, of the 3 in a row champions again. Ole, ole, Glasgow Celtic. Welcome along, boys. Delighted to be joined by the regular Monday crew, McGinty and Franny. How you doing, boys?
All good, man. Happy to be here, as always, especially after we've just wrapped up another successful domestic season.
Can't beat it. What about yourself, Franny?
Not bad. As I was just kind of saying off there, had a wee hectic last couple of hours and stuff, so I just glad to be on to chill out and talk all things Celtic.
That's it. Good to have you on, mate, and look forward to getting stuck into it. Before we go any further, though, I'll just get you just to bring up the wee preview video, all the stuff that's coming up.
Sound.
Absolute class, man. It brings back what a weekend it was. It really was. And so I think without further ado, boys, we'll just get stuck right into it. Now, Franny, I know that you were on the immediate post-match show on Wednesday night, and we've not really, we've been on since then. So we'll very briefly just go over. We don't have to go over, the goals or that, just the sort of general feeling. Obviously, post the brilliant result in the Glasgow derby, Brendan made the point of we don't want to just kind of stumble over the line. We want to, sprint over it. And obviously with Rangers coming back on Tuesday night, which in a sense, not that you're ever glad of them winning, but what I mean by that, I know you'll get what I mean, is that I'm glad that we won it on our terms. It wasn't because somebody else dropped points or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened a couple of times over the years, and no matter what MD says, it's never quite as good when you do it that way. You much prefer to win it on the back of a performance and result of your own. But so the job was on to go to Rugby Park, and the honest was quite simple: avoid defeat, and we would be champions. But in terms of, we certainly came flying out the traps, and as much as Kilmarnock have been a, worthy opponent against us this year, absolutely no way that we weren't winning the league on Wednesday night.
Nah, any sort of doubts that anybody had were quickly put to bed after about, 15 minutes? We're 3-0 up, 15, 20 minutes. So it was a great performance. Like you say, Rodgers wanted to sprint over the line, but I think we've done that and more on Wednesday night. Like I say, it's great to win on your own merit, winning it. Like, obviously, Rangers initially had a wee bit of a wobble the night before, and you're like, oh, maybe we'll be going into this and it's the results are relevant and stuff. But we had to kind of Rangers sort of asked us a question, if you like, Anthony. I know it was slim to, there was absolutely next to no chance that we were not winning this league after the result in the Derby match. And I know I could have had a bit of egg in my face, but Roy averages would tell you that we would have got a result against Kilmarnock. It was highly unlikely they were going to beat us 3 times in one season. And I just thought to wrap up a title, it was a very, very fitting, very, very good performance.
Yeah, I totally agree. The type of way that you like, and I'll stick with you now. It looks like McGinty's having to answer a call. He's obviously he's a busy man, man in demand. Absolutely. I'll come back to you then in terms of, did you watch the game on Wednesday night before you came on the show? Or
just sitting in the house, mate. Just sitting in the house, watched it, mate, and celebrated every goal like it was like a goal in the derby. It was just, I celebrated it more. Obviously, like the derby games and the bigger games, you naturally, just because of the magnitude of it, you end up celebrating certain goals a lot more and stuff. But I think the sort of ups and downs of this season, and that there was obviously, there's a lot of anxiety with it amongst the fans. There was discontent amongst the fans at what Rodgers has went through. Some of it's been his own doing. The whole, like, when you go back to sort of the transfers and stuff, what came in the summer anyway, he's got to take a bit of responsibility for that. But I thought it was very telling later on in the season. You just go back to the Glasgow Derby, that none of the 9 that came in certainly started that fixture, and he's kind of went back to the tried and trusted, if you like. So I suppose in that sense, all the narratives and everything that were wrote against him, it's how I celebrated the goals was, I don't know if I celebrated them as much as Brendan Rodgers. It just felt like a weight off my shoulder, a weight off, but there'd been a weight off a lot of Celtic fans' shoulders, just with like what they'd sort of put us through. And like I say, the story that they had the fans getting, the fans that had the Green Brigade, where, like, without going into it, they were banned out the stadium for a wee while. So there's a lot against us. You had that, to go back to the Abada situation. I appreciate he was injured a lot, but then obviously his very sensitive subject that came up, and kind of on that, a wee bit disappointed that Hugh Keevins about 3 nights in the bounce said that the Green Brigade forced him out of Celtic in the last week and something. It was like his own statement said that nobody forced him out. Well, no Celtic fan forced him out, but Hugh Keevins said it 3 nights in the bounce, was not questioned, not challenged on it. So that's out there, like it's fact. Like, Celtic fans forced the lad out of the club. So there's been a lot of shite being flung at Brendan Rodgers, and we might get into it, but he didn't miss him on Saturday again.
Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant in a lot of his post-match comments. I didn't hear that about Hugh Keevins, but nothing surprises me, mate. An absolute plonker of the highest order, it has to be said, and just has made a career out of telling lies. It's amazing he didn't run for office at one point, but what can you do? McGinty, obviously you've off the phone now. All good to go. Obviously, we just talked about, as I said, brief kind of summary about Wednesday night, as to say just where you watched it and just how good a feeling it was, just to make it absolutely official that the title was staying where it belongs.
Aye, it was one of the best performances I've seen all season. And considering what we had to play for, considering who their manager is and the history between the two clubs, especially this season, they don't have much to play for in the last couple of games because they've got 4th place sewn up. But they had a point to prove. They had something to prove, to say, look, we can take Celtic every game this season. So they definitely gave us a try. But the fact that we came out with 5 goals, firing on all cylinders. I mean, I've said it so many times that I wouldn't sign Adam either, but I need to say it out loud on the podcast because I've said it in the group chat on Wednesday night and Thursday. But that guy was absolutely fantastic on Wednesday night. His hold-up play was brilliant. Before he got his goal, I think he had 3 or 4 good, strong kind of hold-ups, turns, laying the ball off, a couple of good runs as well. He was a fantastic player on Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And see if he played like that consistently all the time, or 90% of the time, I would have no qualm signing the guy full-time. But as it is, he doesn't play it like that all the time, and I'm more concerned that he's more likely not to play it like that too often. But on Wednesday night, he did everything he could to convince Brendan Rodgers that he should be signed. And if Rodgers does, after the season we've had, after everything we know about Rodgers, after the performances of the last kind of 2 months, I would trust Brendan Rodgers to sign Adam Ida and get the best of him. It wouldn't be my personal signing, but I would trust Brendan Rodgers to do it, because the guy knows what he's doing when it comes to player development, and he knows what he's doing when it comes to Scottish football. And that's shown the last few games, especially even going into the second round game. Of course, we conceded a couple of goals, but we still get through that relatively easy, I think, considering all the changes from Wednesday to Saturday, which is probably a given considering you still got a cup final. But no, Wednesday night was a fantastic game. Great atmosphere, even though we only had one stand this time, and it was just fantastic to see the players celebrate it, what it meant to them as much as it meant to the fans, especially when you look at guys like Joe Hart, who is absolutely fantastic as well.
He certainly is, and perfect little seamless segment there, mate, because we've obviously, after winning it and all the celebrations at Rugby Park on Wednesday night, and it's a ground where we've actually had more than our fair share of championship wins in the last sort of 20 years, but it was all about the final league game of the season. Sun was shining, and it's becoming the annual Trophy Day celebrations were going to be in full swing. And obviously the march with the trophy up the Celtic way has become a bit of a tradition in recent years, and it's usually a prestige awarded to an ex-manager or an ex-player that comes back for a day. But this year, Celtic decided to give the tribute to Joe Hart, our outgoing goalkeeper, and it was great to see him getting all the recognition that he deserves. We'll probably touch on him a bit more as the show goes on, but that certainly got proceedings underway. And from there, it was just an absolute, I was there myself, and I'm sure you guys were watching on the telly as well. But just a great feel-good atmosphere, and of course, St Mirren obviously actually played pretty decent second half, and of course there was a bit of a change in personnel for us as well. Obviously, some of the bigger hitters getting rested for the cup final coming up at the weekend. But still, in terms of how you would want a season to finish, it's goal fest, sun shining, and modern day heroes getting the send off they deserve, Franny.
And I totally. And I thought it was a touch of class to let Joe Hart walk up the Celtic way. It sets the tone, sets the mood. If you like, it puts a feel good factor from the off around the whole day. Obviously, it's a good day regardless, Anthony. You, like myself, I know I've not got a season ticket anymore, but like yourself, you've been to many, fortunate enough to have been to many trophy days just with Celtic's dominance over the last, since the turn of the century anyway. So sometimes these games, the game on the day is just getting in the way. What you're kind of there for, what the players are there for, to get their reward at the end, like getting the trophy. Sometimes they say that game on that day just gets in the way what everybody's actually there for. So it was good to see them give it to Joe Hart to walk up the Celtic way in the stadium with the trophy. Then obviously you've got the game, everybody's buzzing because, but as I say, you're there to witness us the crown and jewel getting the league trophy. But St Mirren had a wee bit to say about that. But as I said, these things can happen in these days. Players are not bang at it. There was, like say, 6 changes, and 3 of them are in defence. So you're a wee bit disjointed. The attacking three's totally different from what we'll probably play next week, and you have got a cup final coming up. So even like maybe your 60-40, what you're in favour, maybe even a 70-30 challenge that you're in favour, might just not go in for it, just in case you miss that cup final. It's probably the one day that you get away with not putting 100% in, I feel like, and it's St Mirren made a fist of it, and two good goals for the boy O'Hara and stuff. He's out sounding like Stephen. I wouldn't advocate for signing because I think midfield's probably our strongest position, but he is. I don't. Maybe if he was Scottish to fill up a quota, I would sign him, but I don't actually know if he is Scottish or Irish. I'm just thinking the names, maybe more an Irish second name, if you like. But he did his 2 goals well, but I thought Celtic did, like O'Reilly's goal. That was a great finish for him, yet taking a wee deflection, but it was good hold up play for Kyogo initially. And then obviously the second goal, Kyogo wins it back well. And it's a fantastic ball in for Hatate. And I don't think Kyogo, I know we kind of spoke about it in the group chat and we'll credit him, but I don't think he's getting enough credit for that goal. He's good 3 yards beyond the post and still gets it. And I think that as much as it's a tap-in kind of goal, I think it's a really, really good goal. Then same with the third goal, obviously, it looks like the game might fizzle out. Anthony, just a 2-2. It's getting to that stage of the game where it's just everybody's just wanting the final whistle. Then Anthony Ralston, what a cross he puts. That is an absolutely fantastic cross he put in. Absolutely brilliant. Just when I seen it on obviously the wee video that Wally had done there, it just reminded me how good that cross was. And then Palmer just puts the shine on day, make sure that you're signing off trophy day with a win, which is always good. It's all about momentum going into Saturday, and we've won again.
Absolutely, we sure have. And McGinty, it's a great, I touched on what we were saying earlier about Brendan saying that we wanted to sprint over the line, not just stumble over it. And, that's 5 wins for our post-split fixtures, which somebody might, maybe Alistair can correct me if I'm wrong on the chat, but I think that might be the first time we've done that since the Invincible season, which is, a great achievement in itself. And, when, as Brendan said in the comments in the weeks leading up to it, this is when we tend to come alive, when the pressure's really on. And, in terms of course, perhaps it would have been nicer a 4-5-0 like we've had the last couple of years. But by the same point, it's great that even although it was a bit of a changed team on Saturday, they still managed to get that 5th win in the post-season, the post-split season, and just sort of sign off on a high, so to speak.
No, definitely. You're right. It is one of these things. Usually, once you, as Fanny was saying as well, that's one of those games you probably could get away with dropping points or losing the game after you've won the league. That there's nothing real to play for with so many changes and all the rest of it. And it does actually feel like it doesn't happen that often that you get to the post-split fixtures and win all 5, because usually we have tied up the league, 5, 6, 7 games before the league's over. So it's refreshing to see it happen. It's more refreshing to see that we've continued. I've always said it since that second half Motherwell, was it back in February? Everything for me at that point started to really change. You saw the change in the way we were playing with a bit more attacking oomph, shall we say. And we've seemed to have continued that all the way into the post-split fixtures, and even once it's been won, there was no let up. As you say, Brendan Rodgers says we're going to sprint over that line, and we certainly did on Wednesday night. So fair credit to him for keeping up the standards. As far as, Saturday goes, we kind of went behind, shipped 2 goals and all the rest, but I think we've still played fairly well. All things considered, how many people we changed on the pitch. I think a few of them were probably getting a last gasp look at them. Guys like Navrocki has probably managed to work his way out the door officially after that game. Ralston's probably managed to cement himself as saying, I am the backup to Alistair Johnson, right back isn't an issue for us just now, sort of thing. So there's a few players that have probably staked a claim for next season. I don't think anybody's staked a claim for this weekend coming for the cup final. I think we all know what that lineup's going to be. And I think Saturday was more about kind of keeping the legs fresh for a couple of players, keeping a couple of players fit, especially the likes of Carter Vickers, who's been prone to a few niggles this season, shall we say. But yeah, overall, you can't fault Saturday at all, really.
No, you can't, mate. It was absolutely brilliant, and I think, as I say, what the star of the show on Saturday for me, the outgoing hero Joe Hart, and as I say, he was at the start of the celebrations by bringing the league championship trophy up the Celtic way, and there was multiple renditions of Super Joe Hart throughout the game. But also want to say as well his reaction to the tribute to him at half time, when he came out for the second half, was absolutely magnificent. And I have to say, you even think back to a couple of years ago when Tom Rogic and Near Beaton left at the same time. They'd been together at the club for a number of years. They of course got an amazing reception, and well deserved at that. But I'm struggling to remember a player who's not been with us for a huge length of time, McGinty, but he seems to have taken the club to his heart. And I think what maybe even makes it more is obviously he's done it at the very highest level. So he was already one of the most decorated goalkeepers in British football history by the time he came to Celtic. Obviously, whatever he achieved at Manchester City and then with England as well. But it's clear as day that he's really taken Celtic to heart, and he looked really visibly emotional at all the tributes that were given to him on Saturday.
He's one of those characters. I mean, a lot of us Celtic fans, I'll no pretend otherwise for myself, but a lot of us Celtic fans, when he was first rumoured, I think he was rumoured even long before we signed him that year. I think he was rumoured like season before something. And there's a lot of us just didn't want him. He was the wrong side of 30 as such, which we've now got this issue again. We needed a new number one goalkeeper. And there's people obviously like myself would rather the younger side of 30 and somebody you could build for a good few years. So Hart, his age was never in his favour. He was coming from Man City. Well, originally from Man City, obviously he came from Spurs directly first. But he's come from England and potentially that ego, that mentality of coming up here for a last payday, a kind of retirement fund, kind of easy going. We've seen it before. We guys who came to us, let alone going to them across the road. You've seen Joey Barton, you've seen Ian Wright come up here, and they think it's a cakewalk, and they just think they're going to come up here and flash their CV, score a couple of goals, make a couple of saves, and just get on with it. He never did that. He instantly came in and was, a breath of fresh air between the sticks. He knew what he was doing. He was commanding. He took to the team well. He mentored not just the other goalkeepers. He's mentored other players in that back line. He's helped us through a lot of sticky points. But he's totally bought into the ethos of the club, the charity arms. He's bought into the whole fans and everything. You look at Saturday taking the megaphone a la Kieran Tierney kind of style, getting right involved with all the chanting and everything at the end of the game. He's just 100% fell in love with the club, as much as I think all the fans have fallen in love with him. He's, for me, we were saying it in the group chat the other day, for me, there's no argument. He is the top three goalkeepers this century for Celtic, if not the last 30 years for Celtic. He's top three goalkeepers behind Arthur Boruc and Fraser Forster. And to say behind, I'm only saying that because the other two came first, like in our history sort of thing. That's the only reason I'm saying they come behind him, because he's an absolute fantastic goalkeeper and a fantastic character who will be sorely missed. Can only hope that he does stay at the club in some capacity, be it a coach or something. I don't know. I know. I actually read the other day, as you know, he signed up by BBC. I think he is to do punditry work for the Euros.
For the Euros, yeah.
So, I do imagine he will not make any decision before that's finished, sort of thing, which will leave us on our toes. But the sooner we replace him as a keeper, the better. But if he can come back to the club as some sort of coach or mentoring the youth talent of some way, I think he's a great character to have around.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's his leadership qualities as well as his natural footballing abilities will be sorely missed by the club, and big gloves to fill whoever does take over. But But yeah, I think you're right. He's going to be one of the pundits at the Euros, and I think he's made it. I don't think he wants any kind of coaching role, but I think both Celtic and Man City have made it clear, there's always going to be a place for him in some kind of ambassadorial role or whatever role he would maybe want. And I think that speaks volumes that there's clubs on both sides of the border willing to just say, whatever you want, we're happy to facilitate. Franny, your own thoughts on Joe Hart? Not just obviously, as McGinty alluded to, all the adulation and tributes that he got on Saturday, which I think we probably all agree is well deserved. But as we were talking on as well, just the impact that he's had at Celtic these last 3 years. I think I think last year when we won the treble, he became the first that since Kenny Dalglish, so only him and Kenny Dalglish that have won the clean sweep of domestic honours, both in Scotland and in England. So that's good company to be in. But everything else that he's contributed to Celtic in these 3 seasons, he's been quite the character.
It has, and I think, I was happy when we signed him. Obviously, me and Stephen Barcast to the hilt, and I don't know why we just stuck him. But obviously, when Joe Hart came in, it was desperate times. We really needed a keeper, and obviously, it was just one that Ange maybe was presented and said, "Look, this is a deal we can do." And on paper, a guy his CV is not to be sniffed at, but you also look at his recent sort of career before he came here. He was at Tottenham, wasn't he really getting a look in there? I think he was at Burnley before he went to Tottenham, and again was in and out the team there. And I think he had a sort of I think he was at Torino for 2 years, and it was one good year, one bad year. And obviously Man City before that, it was a really good career ahead. So it was almost like you were like, well, is he a keeper that's on the road out, like Anthony touched on, just up here for a payday? I felt if we could get some sort of form out of him, we were getting a really good keeper. I think a lot of guys, maybe myself included, I can't remember, but he has got this perceived attitude that he's a jock, a big ego, if you like, and thinks he's better than a lot of folk. But I think he's quickly put that to bed. He's seen, there was obviously the rumours he came up and was on, I know 15 grand's a lot of money, but I think he was on about 60, 70 grand at Spurs, and he's came up here for 15 grand. I think it showed for the off that he was up here to prove himself. For the 3 years, for me, he's had his mistakes. Yeah, he's not great with his feet, but Joe Hart was never, ever great with his feet. And 34 years, never really got to teach that into a goalkeeper at that age. So it was one of the ones he probably done better than I think a lot of folk done. You've seen obviously videos that would come out online, not necessarily focusing on Joe Hart, but like before sort of cup finals and things like that. And obviously Ange would be talking, then it would go to Callum McGregor, then you would see Joe Hart would say a few things. So he was clearly, obviously would be ways his career that he's had, he would be respected within that dressing room among some of the players, but it shows the character that he is. When exactly, Jamie, that just shows you where we were as a fan base, that we cheered a keeper making a save. That's how bad Barcast had affected us. But I just think it showed the character of Joe Hart, I feel like, and his massive. I think what I liked as well was his reaction at halftime, Anthony. It'd have been easy to do that whole cliche. I know he kind of went to grab the badge, but he was never a badge caster. He was never doing all that carry on. And then I don't know if he's catched the interview he done before I don't know when he done it, but it was obviously in the lead up to Saturday's game in Celtic. I think Celtic released it on Friday. It's about a 7 or 17 minute long. I think it's a 7 minute long video. It's absolutely brilliant. You can see, for me, the way I read it was when he came to Celtic, he was a guy that needed to prove to himself that he wasn't done with football, and I think he came up here just with a point to prove to himself first and foremost. And I think he just got, plenty admits that he got sucked in by it all, got sucked in by Celtic, how the fan base taking him to his heart. They welcomed his family and stuff. So I think he's an emotional guy. I'm sure he said that as well. He kind of buys into all that as well, and I think that helps him because Celtic fans can see him buying into it. We're not necessarily here we're not interested in badge kissers. We want guys to get 100% for the jersey, and I don't think that can be questioned for Joe Hart, and it doesn't in a professional manner. And I think like Jerry McCulloch even asks him the question on the interview about when you're back down the road and things like that, we maybe say to guys, get out here, we word in their ear, and that if they've got an offer to come to Celtic and they're humming and hawing about it, will you try and persuade them? And he says no. He's like, oh, no, he says, because I don't think I can describe this club to anybody. I don't think I'll do it justice. You just have to feel it. He says that's all it is. He says, I don't think I would be doing it justice, be trying to persuade guys to come up here. He says, if you don't want to come here, you can't come here. He says, you've got to want it. He says, I wanted to come here and it proved the right move. So I think that was good for him. It would, again, on an interview, it would have been easier for him to just give the party line saying, oh, I'll tell players to come up here. It's amazing, it's this. But he was open and honest and saying, and what he said, by saying you've just got to feel it. If you want to do it, do it. So I nothing but admiration for the guy. Great that he's went out with a league title. It's good that he's finishing on a high. I think maybe Sutton and Lennon were jokingly saying sign on for another year. In a way, I hope it doesn't. I hope he sticks to his word. It's not that I don't diss it. I'm just worried that he doesn't go out on a high. I think what he's done in his career, what he's done the 3 years at Celtic, he deserved to go out with that league title, and I just hope we do. I think he'll do his utmost. I think the players will do their utmost, and he could finish in a proper high on Saturday.
Yeah, well, here's hoping, and it is the last dance for him on Saturday, and here's, like you say, here's hoping that we can just one last performance, one last big one for the season, and hopefully get that job done and bring that cup home again. Absolutely. So, McGinty, not only were we saying goodbye to Joe Hart at the weekend, but we were also saying hello again to another big character, and they don't come any bigger than Santa Claus himself. Obviously, his visit pre-Christmas at a time when, shall we say, we weren't firing all cylinders and perhaps not always rosy in the garden. I remember it was the day Franny, it was their Christmas party, wasn't it? And we were going round to the stadium after the game. So yeah, I certainly picked the days to get the table booked. But needless to say, it didn't go down very well. But I have to say, I thought it was personally a brilliant bit of patter for Celtic. Not even just patter, but I think it just shows you that it's a wee bit self-deprecating humour. And I think it was great that, he came back for the North Pole and was happy to deliver, he delivered one, a far smaller one at Ibrox in December, but we got the big one from his sack in May. So I can only assume it must have been left there from Christmas time. But again, it's always a pleasure to see the big man, but to see it in this time of year, handing out the most important trophy of all, it was quite pleasing.
I know, definitely getting a nice present of Santa this May was a good thing. It was nice to see it through the club to set it up. It's obviously I forgot what happened, to be honest, but it'd been in the kind of social media and on the phone-ins and stuff that the during the week there. It's good to see that the club can poke a little bit of fun at itself with the fans alongside it, sort of thing. Gotta say, definitely was not Peter Lawwell's idea of that one. I don't think he's got a fucking humorous bone in his body, but I would love to find out who did come up with the idea, because fair fucking play to you, whoever you were, Mr. Celtic, because that was a decent one. That I enjoyed it. Yeah,
absolutely. And what about yourself, Franny? Did you have a wee smile on your face when? Because it must be hard to get a hold of at this time of year, but thankfully, but he's got all his elves are busy doing all the jobs at the minute. So yeah, maybe a wee day off from all the preps for Christmas was good for him as well. Always a pleasure to see the big man in paradise, isn't it?
Isn't it just, like you say, it gives him a wee day off in the sun. It'll be cold in the North Pole, I think, all year round. So, it's like Anthony said there, it's great part. It's reading the room. It's seeing, like we said, laughing at yourself at the right time. Yes, it wasn't a great time when you got booed and stuff like that. It was one of them, but I think it was a fitting tribute to the guy. I don't know if the guy's a Celtic fan. I hope he is, because that would have meant it couldn't have, if he's a Celtic fan, him getting booed at Celtic Park couldn't have felt great. And then obviously he came back and managed to present the trophy. Also blessed himself in the process with it. It's just, so if there's a Celtic fan, great, because that'll mean a lot to him as well, because that couldn't have felt great getting booed. So, but if he's not, equally, it'll still be a great feeling. Nice of Celtic to go and reach out to the guy to say, look, do you want to come back? And it's been received in the right way. It should have been a pit. We're taking the piss at ourselves. And what more can you say about that? I think that shows a sign of where Celtic fans are. We're more than happy to take the piss at ourselves in such as that. And it was just, I found it very, very funny. Thought it was great, and like I said, just read the room, and whoever, like McGinty said, whoever's idea that was, fair play.
As you see there, Franny, though, you kind of read in the room. You couldn't have made that decision. Somebody's obviously had to call that guy at least a day before. You have to have asked him on Friday at least, which means the decision has to have been made probably in the back of Wednesday, more likely on the back of Saturday the week before. But it's something that has to have, psychologically, somebody has to have planned that a few days in advance. You didn't just be like, oh, fuck it, let's just call Saturday. You need to have read the room. You needed to have had us beat Rangers and then Kilmarnock and had it all wrapped up with no questions asked. It had to be a feel-good factor for the whole week, because you see, that's reading the room. Because see if we stumbled across the line as opposed to sprinting it to take words out of Brendan Rodgers, that wouldn't have went down well. If that was a nervy last day win, that wouldn't have went down well.
No.
It's totally reading the room with the perfect way. So again, whoever came up with the idea, fair fuck to you. It definitely wasn't Peter Lawler, though. I can assure you that.
well, that's the thing as well. It's a logistical issue as well, because you see, I don't know how many airlines fly to the North Pole, but the Reindeers are on their, they're on their, this is their downtime, so at least a couple of them would have to have got fed to bring them over. But whoever planned it, however it was organised, I thought it was absolutely superb, and well done to all involved. And hope Santa enjoys his summer and gets us plenty of presents at Christmas time.
I have one more question for you, Anthony. Is your kid in the room or listening to this by any chance?
Yes.
Well, all I'm going to say is Santa Claus helped me with my pursuit of making Mila a Celtic fan, because as we know, she can't quite decide yet, but when she was watching the game, and she now thinks Santa Claus is a Celtic fan, so this is helping things.
Absolutely.
He always was. Remember, guys, traditionally Santa Claus has always worn a green suit.
Yeah,
wasn't he until he took a week helping hand out a Coca-Cola?
That's it.
He's always been a Tim.
Santa's a Tim. That's the quote of the evening, I think. Absolutely. And so obviously, but I'll just touch on this kind of briefly, because I'm certainly not saying it to be in any, it's not, I don't think necessarily for guys of our age. It's more a young team thing, but of course it was the third annual Merchant Square, or the Trongate sort of post-match celebrations, and of course in typical Daily Record fashion, they overanalyze and try and make it out as if there was sort of running battles in the street, and complaining about all the mess that's been left behind and the clean-up bill. Funnily, they never seem to report this every July when the cultured celebrations happening. But of course, it's Celtic fans, so it's got to be. They've got to put a negative slant on something. As I say, it's not something I've went to. I tend to just go for a few drinks in the stadium bar, and then be on my merry way. And as I say, nothing to get, certainly the photos of it look brilliant, but I'm only just want to kind of gauge your guys' opinion on it, because it's something that I've thought of recently. if Celtic are wrongly going to be having their name dragged through the mud for these things, should we, and I know maybe McGinty, this is what we're saying, it's something that Peter Lawwell's never been too particularly good at, is reading the room and doing something more in-house. I mean, there's quite a vast area, especially in the Celtic way, in and around the stadium. Could there be some sort of set up for a trophy day where they erect a stage and maybe get some live acts on? I'm just trying to think. Stick up a few toilets, get a couple of licensed bars, and keep it all in house sort of thing, and basically don't give anyone any ammunition to shake a stick at. As I say, that's not me in any way condemning anything that happened over the weekend. I get that. I think a lot of it's been overplayed in the media, but there's no doubt that there has been a lot of it's a bit been boisterous, shall we say. What's your own thoughts on it? Do you see any issue with it, or would you rather it was kind of kept closer to the stadium and celebrate kind of in the vicinity of Celtic Park?
The issue you've got with these things is always that I'd say 99%, 98% of the time when Celtic fans are doing these celebrations and this kind of euphoria of outpouring of celebration and jubilance, it's in good nature and good spirits. And yeah, there'll be people getting a bit too drunk and a bit rowdy and stuff like that, but there's nothing that ever major happens. The issue is that there is a small, very small minority within there that has a potential to turn a bit sour. And that's just the way of life for drunken people. It's no one else thing, it's no them thing, it's no whatever it is. Unfortunately, that lot across the road again have spoiled it for most people, where as soon as you see this kind of gathering of drunken football fans, it's taken as riots, as troublemakers, as hooligans, as a negative as a whole. And the more so ones that they've painted themselves with that brush, we're going to get it in the media every single time this happens. So something should be done. I think comments on the side are saying the same thing. Let's try and be creative about it. Let's try and capitalize on it even. It's a bit harder to do and organize something like this to this scale and have it properly policed and secured sort of thing, because you can't just throw up a couple of fences, throw up a wee makeshift stage the day that you win the league. If you win the league on the last day of the season, it's a bit short notice. But as you say, there's plenty of space around the stadium. There's the stadium itself. I mean, 60,000 fans are already in there. There's a football pitch you can let them onto, although that brings its own issues. However, we have had gigs and concerts on the pitch, so there is elements that you could probably work with something. But I don't know. If it's not the club, it should be the council and the site itself, because this is going to happen every year, regardless who wins the league. Us, them, Partick Thistle, Dundee, it'll happen in Dundee, Hibs, it'll happen in Edinburgh. This is going to happen every year. And it does happen every year across the whole of Europe, but across the whole of the world. And other European countries and that, they facilitate this a lot better than what we do in Scotland. And the council need to try and facilitate. They know it's happening. They know it's going to happen. It's not a secret. Not a secret at all. So do something. Glasgow Green, people talk about how Tina Park's there now, or Transmit, or whatever it is these days. The square, every Hogmanay gets turned into a kind of glorified fan zone for Hogmanay and the booze ups and stuff. Facilitate it and then monetize it. Make money of it. Free entry in, you come, but here's your watered down beer. Bang, make some money. That goes to the cleanup of it and make a good name for the city, sort of thing, and keep things happy. It should be said, however, the day after it did happen, the streets were clean. So credit to the people who are doing the cleanup, which is the council obviously themselves. But if the council are going to have to go through the hassle of cleaning up, at least make money out of it on the side. Do something, capitalise on it. Why no? It's going to happen regardless.
Well, there's the thing, but a few of the guys are saying in the chat here that the Celtic did ask for planning permission for a fan zone. I don't know if it was necessarily in and around the stadium, but they did ask for a fan-specific area. Now, I remember Brendan's first season, Franny. I don't know if you attended them, or if anyone that was at them in the chat, then let them know. But there was definitely a few fan zones organised in George Square for the Champions League group stages that year. I think like Tom Boyd, they built a wee stage, and I definitely remember seeing pictures in the Celtic View that Tom Boyd was there, like welcoming fans along and all that. I wasn't at them myself. I was working all the nights of the games, and then just went to the match straight from work. But I don't know, was that anything you attended yourself, or if anyone in the chat does? Do we think that could maybe be a way for? I know it would still mean a lot of people en masse walking through the Tron to get to George Square, but you know, what's your own thoughts on it? Do you think the media have over kind of hyped the carnage, as they called it, or do you think it's just going to be something that happens, or would you prefer it to be something more in-house?
I suppose, I mean, I've not got away from the pictures. Looked amazing. The atmosphere looked fantastic, Anthony. Like, visually, it all looked amazing. But I agree, your everyday shopper, George Square is quite a popular area. It might not be that great for sort of, not necessarily all your locals, but your locals and maybe tourists that are coming into the city, it could maybe put them off. So there is a lot, as much as it looks good in for Celtic, well, whatever supporter you are, you will feel safe within that environment at the time. Maybe sort of outsiders wouldn't feel so safe about it, but like to touch on the sort of negative, unfortunately, again, not to condone it, when you get that many folk en masse having a drink, there's going to be fights. And unfortunately, the papers are going to jump on that, and where possible, they'll make it more out of it than it needs to be. Let's say we try and weed that out, but how do it, especially when it's away from sort of a Celtic Park? It's, I suppose, Celtic, rightly or wrong, however you look at it, can wash their hands of it. I feel like they don't. It's not on them to police it and things like that. But obviously, like the fan zones, why not? I suppose that would come into being a bit more creative and what can you do. But I think, like you say, it seems to be a trait that's came in the last few seasons. I think it was ever since Rangers done it. So I believe it will continue to happen until somehow they put a ban on it. The council put a ban on it, but I really don't know how you could. So I think maybe they should look into putting some sort of fan zone up if they can. And like Anthony, you're selling McGinty was saying, it's monetize it. And then that helps pay for the staff that are on, helps pay for the cleanup. It's try and take it away from the sort of, I know Glasgow Green is kind of close, but try and keep it away from the city centre, if you like, as best you possibly can. So I visually, I think it's great to look at. I would like to go for it at one time myself, but I just think you've got that element in your support that will cause trouble, like you've got it in every fan base has got their element of support. I mean, we showed it in the Derby game. We like to chuck stones at Rangers when they're throwing things on the park and things like that. But a lot of us were quiet when Tavernier got shit flung at him the other week. So I think there is elements in both fans, and it needs called out all the time. If you've got to be consistent, you need to do it when your own fans are doing it as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. And like you say, I think it's something that, regardless of what happens in Glasgow, I think I think this kind of mass celebration is here to stay now, and I think it's just like you say, it's about how we actually organise it and just make it better, because it's all very well the council condemning us all for how the fans have apparently behaved, but if Celtic have tried to exhaust all options to try and make it better, then on their head be it. And I'm sure, as a lot of the guys have seen online today, guys that have used to work at Glasgow City Council have says they used to snap up the double time offer to clean up the streets after big events all the time. So I think a few guys will have got some extra pennies for the holidays out it, so fair play to them. But yeah, just a kind of couple of things just sort of before we wrap up tonight, boys. First of all, I've just seen that some of the news coming through there about Jerry Collins passing away. Obviously big Celtic man, big friend of Tommy Burns as well, and it's sad news. So I think on behalf of everyone at Endless Celts, we obviously send our condolences and sympathies to Jerry's family and friends. We also have one of our own celebrating his birthday today, Mr. John Tomlinson. We call it, he's much more than the tech guy, but the tech guy's a good nickname to give him. I hope he's had a great day. He's certainly been lively in the group chat with giving his views on this, that and the other. So hope you've had a great day, mate, and hopefully if you're tuning in tonight that you've enjoyed the show. And one of the other competitions we've been running throughout the season, Franny, the Super Six, I was doing not bad in it up until about March, April time, and then I think I missed about 3 weekends in a row, and I totally gave it up. But I think there was a late dramatic winner as well in the Super Six. So if you want to bring the board up, this is the final top 10. So we'll go, we'll do the total top of the pops countdown, bit of Endless Celts representation there. So Willie in 10th place, and Ross just 1 point ahead in 9th, Kevin Hampsey in 8th, Alistair Jack finished a magnificent 7th, so well done, Alistair. Franny, you brilliant comeback, by the way. Obviously you were, I think you were the kind of the best of the Endless Celts team last year as well, and you have defended that particular title, finishing 6th. Kieran Gilhooly was the early front runner. He was doing great, finishing 5th. Stephen Coulthard, last year's winner, absolutely brilliant, finishing 4th again. Ryan Taylor and Joe Finlay, 3rd and 2nd. And then on the last game, Mark Robertson has clinched the Endless Celts Super 6 title. So absolutely amazing. Well done, mate. And I think sort of one of the guys will be in touch.
He'll need to get in touch with him. We've not got a clue who he is.
I know we'll need to send reach out to him one way or another, and we'll get a wee prize sent out, and hopefully it'll be quicker than last year when poor Stephen had to wait till into the autumn, because we made this crazy decision last year to sign a sponsorship deal with a t-shirt company that decided to just no make t-shirts. So that was that was interesting. But what can you say? And I think as well, and I know it's not something that we necessarily cover much, because just the way it is, but not just the men winning the league championship this weekend, but Elena Sadiku and her girls won the trophy in dramatic fashion as well. 90th minute winner from Amy Gallagher, Patsy Gallagher's great granddaughter, so big family connection, Celtic connection there. So the Celtic ladies winning their first Premier League title, so we've made it a double of league titles this weekend, McGinty. It's Glasgow truly is green and white.
Fair play to the girls themselves. Fair play to anybody at Celtic who's winning any sort of trophy at the end of the day. I couldn't tell you anything about them, and I mean no disrespect to them. It's just not something I follow at all. But if the girls are doing well, they deserve all the points they can get, because it feels like they must play Glasgow City and or Rangers every other weekend. So it must be they must be doing something right if they keep coming up against them in cup finals and all the rest of it. So fair play to them for finally getting that trophy. Yeah,
absolutely. And Franny, I don't know how much how much you'd seen of it, but as McGinty says, they do play the Rangers ladies a lot, and the Rangers manager was well, for want of a better word, talking a load of shite after the semi-final win, making out that the pre-match huddle was some sort of gamesmanship and all this nonsense. And at 90 minutes yesterday, her team were champions, and she had a bit of a smug look on her face. But that was duly wiped off with a 90th minute winner. So it's if you're going to win it, you might as well do it in that kind of fashion, wouldn't you?
I suppose, Anthony, if you're going to win any title, it must be a really, really nice way to win it, and especially with being their first title and stuff like that. So I know, fantastic to them. Similar to McGinty, not got a clue about women's football. It's not going to sit here and pretend it's something that interests me. And again, I mean, no disrespect, I didn't watch snooker, whether that male or female, so it's nothing to do with that nonsense. It does not entertain me. So,
yeah,
but fair play to them. They'll achieve more in football than I will. So at the end of the day. It's one of them.
Absolutely. So, yeah, congratulations again. It's been quite a couple of weekends, from celebrating the Glasgow Derby win, then celebrating all the players past and present at the Player of the Year, and then a double league win for the Celtic team this week. And hopefully the promise of more to come. And just very, very quickly, guys, because I know that obviously the boys will be covering it more on Wednesday and on Friday night. But small matter, one last dance Saturday afternoon. Are you going to be able to see it, McGinty, or are you going to be working? But cup final, it's absolutely massive, and chance to do a double against our biggest rival.
Double check kickoff time, 3 o'clock. No, we'll be working, unfortunately.
You're joking.
No, that can't
well,
happen.
Hopefully catch some highlights before next Monday.
I'll try. I'll see if it's worth my time though. It's depending on the result.
That's true.
Very true. We all might suddenly have DIY stuff in the garden to do come Monday if the result doesn't go our way. What about yourself, Franny? I think you'll be watching it in Falthouse, no doubt, with a few hopefully celebratory sherbets.
Hopefully, Anthony. I will depend. I suppose obviously the last derby I was pretty confident going into it, and then what happened that day has not really changed that opinion. But as we know, it's a one-off game. There's not jeopardy on it and such for either team. So I think it's massive for the summer as well. Just the way, obviously, Rangers been in quite a promising position when Clement came in and things like that. They obviously got ahead in the title, and then they kind of fell away, and we've clawed it back on merit and stuff. So the fact that he's had 3 goals to beat Celtic, and is, again, hope I'm not jinxing it, but he's not done it yet. If you can go into Saturday, win that game, that's a massive, massive psychological boost at the start of the season, because that'll be 4 games that he's failed to win, and you just didn't get away with that kind of run very often, like for long. Like, so if he has a poor start to the summer, it could be another guy Brendan Rodgers has seen off.
Yeah, another head to add to the pile, and well, here's hoping anyway. So as I say, guys, it's that kind of rounds off the show for tonight. As I say, I think the plan at the moment, I believe, is a Wednesday show and a Friday show this week. Obviously, Friday will be the big cup final build-up, and wherever anyone is watching it at the weekend, really hope you enjoy it, and hopefully, fingers crossed and touch wood, enjoy your night afterwards. But that is it for tonight in terms of the league review show. You've enjoyed it?
I've loved it, and can I just give a big shout out to Christoph? I don't know if he's still listening, but he was on the Celtic World, or A Celtic World, I think the podcast is called, fairly recently. He's a friend of my uncle, and he gave us a shout out. He gave the podcast a shout out on it and that. So if anybody's want more Celtic content, go and get a wee listen. It's pretty good.
Superb, man, superb. And that is it for tonight, boys. And thanks again to everybody for tuning in. All the regulars and new faces. If you like what you're seeing, feel free to just hit like and subscribe, and you'll get the wee notification every time we're live. But apart from that, thanks again. Stay well, keep safe, hail, and good luck for the cup final on Saturday.